Hey, what's up, y'all? You are listening to your Mental Matters podcast. I'm your girl, Mo. And for those of you watching, thank you for tuning in. We are back with another episode and a very special guest. We got Angelo in the building.
Whoop, whoop.
Hey, Angelo.
Bro, how you doing?
I'm good.
No
Thank you
vibes.
for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Um, yeah, I'm sure a lot of people probably are familiar with you who are watching the pod, or they may not be,
Mm.
but I definitely want to, utilize this time to get to know you better. I found you through social media. I do watch your podcast, Talk Your Pod.
Thank
So, but I was watching your podcast for a while before I kind of had the idea of like, oh, maybe I should try to see if I could have you on the podcast. I think some of your more recent like content, social media wise,
you.
definitely like kind of like intrigued me, and I was like, ooh, I definitely want to like chop it up with you, and we'll get into like what that content was that kind of pulled me in. But even on your podcast on Talk Your Pod, um, you guys have had conversations about like mental health and different things that I
Yeah.
thought were really important. So, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Of
Happy to
course,
be here.
yeah. And where should we start? Because like, well, you know what? This is normally how I start is with the mental health check-in. So I want us to start there, and then we could get into like a little icebreaker, in case you got any nerves or anything. But I don't know. You don't seem nervous. You
Nah,
seem pretty chill.
I'm good. I'm good.
But even before we get into the check-in, like, um, who are you? Who is Angelo? What do you do? Introduce yourself to the people.
You know what's crazy?
Mm-hmm.
That type of question is one of those, like, you usually have an answer until somebody asks you,
Right.
and then you start, like, pondering, like, who am I? But, like, I know who I am. I like to introduce myself as, well, to the public as an anomaly.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a very versatile. Am I allowed to curse?
Be you. Be free.
Okay, I like calling myself a versatile nigga.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying? Like, I do a lot. So from music to podcasting to marketing to videography, and you know that's like who I am to the public, like
Mm-hmm.
the funny, loud guy on social media, um, or serious depending on which part of my journey you joined me from.
Yeah.
Um, and then, but I'm a brother. I'm a son.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a friend. Like that's those are the fulfilling positions role. And I'm not even trying to sound cliche. Like the with blowing up on social media and having these moments on social media, like you tend to lose sight of that. But
Mm-hmm.
the ironic thing for me was like the as I couldn't progress without my inner circles
Mm-hmm.
being who they were within my family and my friends.
Understood.
So like yeah, right now like I'm enjoying like the moments with my friends and my family,
Mm-hmm.
like very intimately, while I still represent, us as a unit to the public. So like that's who I am. I know I'm loud on social media, but I'm a real chill dude. Like I'm a real
Mm-hmm.
I'll be chilling. So
Yeah, you give me that for sure.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm like, oh.
Yeah, like I'm so social. I'm very performative. I like saying like I'm very performative. So it's like when it comes to media stuff, like I'm performing.
Got
And
it.
then if you're not, especially if you're not within my nuclear circle, I don't care to put on a show like outside in public. And people always get surprised. Like I get stopped by fans all the time and they're expecting like this loud, funny dude. I'm like, yo, what up, bro? Appreciate you. Let's go about it.
No, that's funny. And I,
Yeah.
I 100% get that. Because I think even similarly with me and the just my friends or just people, who may come across the podcast or something, I think the expectation is because I'm a therapist, the expectation is that I am always like well put together and on my P's and Q's and, potentially maybe even like psychoanalyzing people.
Mhm.
And it's like, no, I'm actually like a regular person. Like I'm a regular person. I'm not always on. I'm not every time I come across somebody, I'm not analyzing them like I ain't getting paid. So what am I doing that for? Right? Like I do it every day.
I,
Like on the weekends I'm chilling.
I have a problem with therapists.
Do you?
I'm Haitian. I don't believe in therapy.
Oh.
So or
I'm I'm
therapy.
Haitian too though.
I don't believe in.
So
But that makes sense why you're a therapist though, because if
does
all the trauma that we kind of go through as Haitian children would lead for some of us to go into
it?
therapy.
You know what?
So it's like, hey, there's nothing here for me. Like, I get why you're a therapist as a Haitian, especially like a Haitian girl.
Mm,
So I don't know. I don't know what your dynamic is, but I'm going by like the stigma of like Haitian
for sure.
women in our culture. Like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I need more therapy than us because we're our mothers love us. You know, yeah.
Yeah, I don't fit the so my mom, I'm half Haitian, half
Oh,
Jamaican,
you're not even
and
fully Haitian.
exactly. So I had to just let me
You're not
before you
even
even
Haitian.
continue, the dynamic here is different because my mom's Jamaican, my father's Haitian. So I didn't have the stereotypical, the usual experience growing up Haitian as a girl. I grew up in my Jamaican household because my parents were not
Yeah.
together. So like, I mean, Jamaicans and Haitians are very similar, even though there's some differences. So I think growing up, yeah, like I mean, I don't know. I think I had a really great childhood. That's what I can say.
Shout outs to you. Yay.
Yeah.
Like the fact that you can say that, that's
Hmm.
pretty dope.
Yeah.
But yeah, my problem is like I think I find certain things therapeutic. But
Let's get into that. I wanna stay here because yeah, like you're sitting next to across from a therapist, so
yeah, I've always wanted to talk to a therapist about this. Like,
so
yo, because I'm gonna start asking if I ever was to go to like a therapy session,
yeah,
I would start asking the therapist about their problems.
really.
Like, yeah, what makes you think?
What? Well, that's not what this is for.
No,
That's
but
what that
I'm
wouldn't.
saying though, like
Mhm.
that's just always been my arrogance of like, wait, what makes you outside of like your studies? What makes you more qualified to battle? Like, what are you going through to be able to help me with my problems? You get what I'm saying? It's like,
Mhm.
no, like you're human. It's
For
kind of the same
sure. But
like thing I have with like spirituality right now, right? It's like, you know, like the people that are preaching, like y'all human too. Like, what are y'all doing that I
yeah,
don't know about?
that's it. I mean, I could understand that and like even empathize with that type of
Yeah,
thinking for sure. And I think that's why even conversation like this are so important. And I talk about it. I'm like, therapists are regular people.
yeah,
We just, I mean, I can speak for myself because some therapists are in the field for different reasons. Me personally, I feel like if I'm being honest, I feel like it was a calling. Like I feel like I'm probably as early as like middle school, seventh grade was when I was like, I'm gonna be a therapist. I didn't know nothing. In seventh grade,
mm,
what do you know? Nothing, right? But that was on my heart from them because I was just always that go-to friend, right? Friends is going through emotional things. I'm there. I'm the shoulder to cry on. And I kind of just my life pretty much followed a straight line, followed that path, and I never lost the desire to want to do that. So for me, I think it's like a calling. I'm passionate about it. I do it because I love. I don't do it for the money. Therapists don't get paid that much money, so and you could Google it. Therapists don't get paid that much money. I do it because I love it. I love people. I want to help people be better, especially our communities of color, because
yeah,
we there's so much stigma here, right, about it. And I think the more you educate yourself on it, you'll understand that yes, therapists are regular people, right,
yeah.
who go through problems just like everybody else, who also need therapy, right? A therapist who's never been to therapy, I would say run away from
Yeah,
because
but it's like I I can't agree with that. I can't say I can't agree, but I'm just saying because like there's a thing of like the best barbers are bald. You get what I'm saying? It's like, well, nigga, you know how to cut hair, but you have no hair. So it's like, I would go to a therapist that's never been to therapy because I feel like we could relate more.
do you?
Yeah,
Why do you think that?
I don't know. I just like going against the grain like that.
You know what?
I did have a question
I
though.
Jordan, you hear this? Do
Like I was
you
like,
right. We're just going around in
no,
circles.
you'd be surprised. So wait, real quick, I just one question before it leaves my mind. So
Yeah.
how do you navigate? How do you navigate if people come to, because I have this issue too, right? As a leader in my communities,
Hmm.
like when people come to you with all their problems, you can't really come back with your problems,
For sure.
right? Like two people can't talk about problems
That's not true.
because okay, pardon me. Within my experience though, it's like
Got you.
if somebody comes pouring out like I'm broke, I'm hungry, I'm starving, da 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 da, like,
Yes.
and I'm broke, I'm hungry, and I'm starving too. I'm solution based, so
Got it.
I could never be like
Right. That's not the
you
time
get what I'm
for it.
saying?
Right.
So how do you navigate that, like with you taking on the responsibilities of one being a therapist, but I'm sure
Mhm.
even in your personal life when people come to you with things, even from when you were, how do you navigate battling your own personal emotions and I guess you have enough emotional intelligence to know how to deal with it, but
Mhm.
how does one navigate that? Like
Yeah.
I'm here helping everybody with their stuff, so
Mhm.
who's helping me with mine?
I love that question, but I also love how this is my interview now.
Huh? Oh, I came to talk. We
I
potted.
I
Let's
love it.
pod.
No, I love
That's
it.
what we
That's
do.
why you saw me smiling as you were talking. I was like, I love how this trajectory,
Yeah,
it just took a turn.
I hate interview style podcasts.
Love
I
it.
love conversations.
I get that. I
Yeah.
get that for sure. But I think, you know what, that's a really great question. And I've talked about it a lot on the podcast that there are times I've been angry because I felt like in my friend group, and I talked about this a lot, like just being the strong friend, right? And
Yeah.
not feeling like my friends are showing up in the way that I need them to, right? But then at the same time, because I am a spiritual person, I believe in God. I'm like, they don't got the same calling as you, right? Like your calling is to be this person, whether you like it or not, right? Sometimes I feel like God gives you things, and it's like, are you going to like step up to the plate and be who it is that you've been assigned to be, or are you going to um be mad about it? And so for me, like I was mad about it for a while, and then I had to just shift my perspective and see like, you know, and I think in that too I was able to find like, okay, who are those people? Because it's not like everybody is just like not able to help and be there. I had to
Yeah.
find the ones that actually do hold space that I can talk to, and sometimes it's just one, sometimes it's two, one or two
Yeah.
people, and it's like, okay, cool, I need to talk to you, right? And then that's when I, you know, and then also it took me a while to also be okay with saying I'm not good right now, right? Because
Yeah.
I was always looked at as a strong friend, and people always see me in that way. If at any moment I have a low point, it's like, what? Everybody's confused, and it's like,
Yeah.
why
Because
are
you
you?
wear it so well. Yeah,
It's
facts.
like, why are you confused?
Yeah.
I'm just like you. But then the reality is like, no, like it's like there is something different, right? About, it's not to say like I'm better than anybody, right? But there is something different about, like in my friend, I'm the only therapist that I know in my
Yeah.
friend group. So that's why it's like there's something different about you. So, you know, it may be may take some adjusting for people to say like, okay, cool, I see you need something right now. Let me figure out how to help. And then some people may not be able to meet that. And me just being okay with that and saying like it doesn't mean that they're a bad friend. It just means that they're not equipped, right? They don't know how
Yeah.
to, you know. So that's what it was for me. I had to change my perspective, really.
I like that the strong friend thing. Like I'm a you know, I'm also the strong friend in my groups.
Mm-hmm.
Um I think it's one of God's cursed gifts, right? Where it's like he puts you in a position of like power amongst people around you,
Mm-hmm.
and like it's such a huge responsibility to have.
Mm-hmm.
Um and you don't really notice it till you're adult, like, oh, I'm the strong friend. Like I'm the one
Yeah.
that's really dealing with everybody's emotional traumas and battles. Even like, you know, certain people do things to you that you never do to them. You kind of got to
Yes.
navigate through them. You got to forgive them. Like the strong friend has to forgive the most. The strong friend has to understand the most.
Reaching.
They have to have the most patience. And I
Mm-hmm.
don't mind it, but I always say like it's one of those. And when you master it and you understand it, the change that you're able to make amongst the people around you,
Yeah.
that is far more fulfilling than like, you
Mm-hmm.
know, complaining. So
Yes.
shout out to the strong friends. You
Yeah.
know the vibes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So let's get back into. I'm like, we already warmed up. I'm like, are we doing icebreaker? What are we doing? Because you just, it was a
Whatever.
switcheroo.
Listen, I'm here.
Okay. So let's get into mental health check in, right? I do want to check in on how you're doing. How are you feeling overall, mentally, emotionally? How have you been the past like week or so and today?
Um, I'm always mentally no, I'm not always mentally okay. I've always forced myself to be mentally okay because with what I'm trying to accomplish in this life,
Mm-hmm.
even now beyond before it was so flesh related,
Mm.
it was like I used to carry the burden of like wanting to impress others so
Mm-hmm.
much. That's kind of like why like my social media became a thing. It was like
Mm.
not that I always wanted to be accepted, I always wanted to be respected
Got it.
in a different capacity. And then once I like decided to, you know, take my spirituality serious, um my perspective started to shift. Like I had a moment last night. So I was shooting the bio tour
Mm-hmm.
with Michael Brunn, um and I had a moment, and I woke up this morning frustrated as hell.
Mm-hmm.
And these things put me into, like, before it would put me in a bad space. Like I would have came here with a different type of energy,
Yeah.
because this was like it was a pivotal moment,
Mm-hmm.
and I know how pivotal it was. And I always said, like, you know, Christians and whatever spiritual life you follow, we're always going to tell ourselves things from the perspective of God when you need to. So I had a moment with J Balvin,
Mm-hmm.
one of the biggest Hispanic artists in the world.
Mm-hmm.
I I got an interview with him, and I'm a marketing genius, so I know what's viral. I had a viral moment with him. I have a viral moment with him.
Mm-hmm.
The person that was recording on his team didn't record. And we did like a whole 5 minutes of like talking back and forth, him teaching me Spanish, da 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 da. And it was one of those things of like I'm happy as hell. I walk away, I check my phone, and I see the footage that he took, and I'm like, oh, I don't have my viral moment no more. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and this is like my livelihood. Like this is it's my life. But I know what an interview with J Balvin does
Yeah,
for my career and for my pers- the my whole social media is gonna blow.
for sure.
So it's like, but within the capacity that it happened, it's like, yo, maybe I'm due for a greater interview with him
Mm-hmm.
because he's also a super like nice, humble, genuine dude. He also, I'm not gonna say that part, but I'm not gonna say that part because I think that's why the person did what they did. I
Okay.
think that was unintentionally, which is smart on his team.
Mm.
So I'm like, I woke up this morning. I'm like, yo, God, if you got greater plans for me, just say that. Because I knew that interview, like that's the Spanish market. He has 50 million followers.
Mm-hmm.
He's hot like at all points of the year. So I
For
could
sure.
drop that video 5 times and it'll go.
Yeah.
So that would put me in a very terrible mind state of like this was like life changing. But I
Mm.
stopped valuing things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So within the last week or so, or even the last couple months or so, my mental has been pretty balanced, and I like
Good.
being balanced. So I like being between a 7 and an 8. Like I don't care to be at a 10 because then I get real delusional when things are going so perfect. You get what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I'm right there. Like I'm very, and I do a lot of reflecting. So I'm very proud of where I started, where I'm at now. Even as far as like I'm the community that I've built
Mm-hmm.
around me. Like I have amazing friends, amazing people, and that I value far greater than what they can do for me.
Yeah.
But with like we're actual friends too. So and that took so long to build. So like the past couple of years was like very hard on me not having the right community around me.
Mm-hmm.
And now that I have the right community around me and we built that equity with each other, like I'm in a perfect space. I have people I could count on.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I want to make more money. I want to, but I'm making more money than I'm making more money now than I've ever made. But I want to make more money.
Love it.
I want more opportunity. I want more placement. But it's like I try to wake up every day to I do what I can. Me and my
Mm-hmm.
friend. Last thing I'll say.
Yeah.
Me and my friend have this thing of like, if you feel like you did all you can do, you have to be satisfied. If you tried to do everything that you could do, if you showed up on time, if you did the edits, if you did the work, if you sent the emails out, if you did whatever, you have to be okay with yourself, no
Mm.
matter what the outcome is.
Yeah.
So I'm at that point of like, okay, I'm doing the best that I can do,
I
and
love it.
that's where I'm at. So my mental is like, I'm Gucci, I'm alright. Like right now, I'm alright, you
Good.
know. So I'm blessed.
I love that. Love
Thank you.
it. No, thank you for sharing that.
What's your mental health like, therapist?
Thank you for asking.
Therapists don't be getting that, right? Like,
Not often. No.
yeah,
No, I
because people are selfish. I would hate to be a therapist. Like, F your day. How about my day? Can we talk about my day?
but that's what we're there for. To I appreciate the question. When it does get asked, which is rare, I
Yeah.
appreciate it. Um Mine, how's my mental? My mental, um, this week, I would say it was up and down. If I had to give it a number, maybe like a 6, 7. Only
Mm.
because I guess contrast to you, I haven't felt as balanced. I just moved. I was living in Philly for the past 6 months, so I just moved back June 1st. So like I'm very.
Welcome back.
Thank you, thank you.
Perfect summer to be in New York, by the way.
Absolutely, I agree.
Everything. It's 2016 all over again.
I agree.
This summer in New York City is 2016 all over again.
Hmm.
It's like Drake just dropped work with Rihanna and
Yes.
whatever. What album came out that year? Whatever Drake dropped that year and A Boogie was out that summer.
Mm.
Like you're here at a perfect time. We got Tompkins going crazy,
Hmm.
day parties going crazy. So
I've
you're
been
going to enjoy yourself.
seeing. I'm
Yeah,
like, I'm excited. I'm here
yeah,
for it, and I feel that energy too. So
yeah. It's a
yeah,
lot.
yeah. So I think that's what it is. I think I've just been kind of transitioning back in. I'm from Queens, so
What part of Queens?
I guess the overarching town is Jamaica, but specifically, yeah, specifically Springfield Garden, near like the Rosedale
Yeah,
Laurelton
I know
area.
where you at.
Yeah, so back in my hometown, and also back living with my mom, which is like I don't for anybody who maybe has like moved away from home, been living on their own, and then has come back and living with family. I love my mom. That's my girl. But but having your own space, living alone, and then going back to like constantly having to consider someone else or like being mindful of this. I'm like, but um it's better that I'm here. I feel better. Like I think for me living on my own, which I talked about like a couple sessions back too, living on my own was very like um I loved living on my own, but Philly is definitely an interesting place.
Hmm.
It's cool. Like the people there are pretty down to earth, but some parts of Philly are interesting, a little rough, a little different. And I think I just overall like I missed home a lot. And so being here back around my family and friends is everything. So that trumps I think like a little annoyances here and there, right? Like being back living with my mom. But I think for me it's been a little stressful, like just getting back into the groove of you know because I feel different. It's interesting. I only was gone 6 months, but I do feel different. I feel like the way that like things affect me are different too. Um, so yeah, I think that's what it's been. It's been just I've been feeling a little like flustered here and there, but I think today I feel good. Like me and Jordan, we're talking. Shout out to Jordan. We were talking like right before we started recording, and I'm like, I woke up early today. I had breakfast. I got here, and that's not usually me. Usually I'm
Yeah,
like out the door just in the nick of time, sweating, out of breath. But I don't know, maybe because his father's there or something. I was just like, it's a holiday today. So I was just like, I'm going to, it just felt natural. Like I just, got to the city on time, no traffic. It was a good drive. So yeah, I guess today I'm feeling good. Today I could say I'm at a 9, 10.
that's fire.
Mm-hmm.
9-10 is heavy.
Yeah, I'm in that delusional space.
Listen, I feel you. I could use the lingo. That not that that
Right.
that 9 and 10 is delusion. Like shout out to delusion though, because like that
Right.
keeps you going. Like yeah,
L-
listen. It could
literally.
be that having the worst day ever. This is the best day ever.
Yeah.
But how do you feel about? I love that I'm talking to a therapist because your language matters, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like again I'm anti cliche. Like if it
Okay.
doesn't make sense to me,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna entertain it, no
Mm-hmm.
matter how good it sounds. So how do you feel about? Because the morning is the most important part of your day.
Mm.
Like how you wake up determines how your day is gonna go.
Yeah,
Um, or how you're gonna react to how the day
for
goes.
sure.
So if you wake up cranky, upset, you're just gonna be cranky, upset the whole day until
Mm-hmm.
you get to rest or take a nap. Like there's times where I check myself like, yo, all right, I need a nap because everything's getting me tight. Yeah, it's the slightest thing.
Okay.
Like, why didn't you lock the door? Like, why didn't you like text me at a certain time? Whatever.
Mm.
So, how do you feel about the language of how people react to their mental? Right, like when you speak on like I have a friend, he's like, he doesn't say the word hate. If I hate something, I'm gonna say I hate it.
Yeah.
No, don't use that word, bro. Like, all right, cool. I get
Mm-hmm.
it. Shout out to my boy Elisha. Elisha's always here. Jordan, I don't know if you know Elisha. Yeah, Elisha, that's my business partner. Yeah, he's like, and I'm just like, "Nigga, I hate this shit. Don't use that word. All right. So like, but like things like that, does it, how do I say it? I'm trying to think of like semantics like is a thing,
Mm.
right? So like perspective.
Yeah.
When you put things into other like how I woke up this morning is like, yo, you know what? You just got greater plans for me. I didn't
Yeah.
lose or fumble. Like it wasn't my fault what happened. That was another
Yeah.
thing too. If it was my fault, then I would have understood.
For sure.
But how do you feel about how what people say? How does that affect their mental? You can talk about that.
Yeah. I love that. That's a great question, and it makes sense. I think language matters 100%.
Mm.
And I shout out to Elisha. I don't know him, but yeah, I agree with that. Like
Yeah.
I'm very particular about what I say. And the thought may come up, like I want to say this thing, but I'll change it. I'll change it in a matter of seconds
Yeah.
because I know how powerful that is. Um yes, the power of the tongue is like I don't say certain things. Like even it's like, like I've had so many instances where like friends have been like, oh, like, well, what if this happens? And I'm like, I gotta tune you out. Because the thing is like it could. Like I do
Yeah.
think like the reality in this life is that the possibilities are endless. Things can just happen,
Yeah.
right? And so we know that, but I think to say it puts more energy on it,
Yeah.
right? It puts more like it's almost like you want to manifest it into your reality,
Mhm.
right? And me, I am a spiritual person. I do believe in the energetic spiritual element of things. But I think even just on like in a therapeutic sense, like on a psychological level, yeah. Like when you say things, and that could even boil down to like affirmations and stuff. Like when I talk to my clients about affirmations, you may not even believe what you're saying, right? You look in the mirror every day and say, I'm beautiful, and you think you're not,
Mhm.
right? But if you look in the mirror every day for a month straight and say, I'm beautiful, one day you're really gonna feel that way about yourself.
Can I just say though, like I think it's also the energy. Just to bounce back on that thought,
Yeah.
the energy in which you say things though.
Yeah.
So like for me, like I'm a very like sarcastic person.
Mhm.
So like I'll say what you don't want me to say, just off of the strength of like you don't want me to say it, or I shouldn't be saying it. So that's kind of how I look at things where it's like, oh, I could be like, yo, I'm poor, right? I'm poor, but like I'm not saying it like in my back of my head, I'm like, this is my reality.
Mhm.
I'm not poor, by the way, guys. I'm broke. I'm not poor, but
There's a difference.
there's a huge difference. And
Mhm.
if, Dave Chappelle said like he made the difference clear.
Mhm.
So it's like, especially when you're working towards something. So I'm like, yo, but I have a thing with like the overexpression of when people talk about because we're all not meant for the same blessings, right? Because we
For
all want the
sure.
same thing. We all want to be rich. We want to be some
Mhm.
of us want to be famous, yada yada yada. But my favorite one is where people be like, when you're especially when you're preaching to a crowd, and this is where the language gets very performative.
Mm.
When you're telling a bunch of people that they can be millionaires,
Mm.
like we're telling in the same room,
Mhm.
it's impossible.
Mhm.
So, and I even tell my friends that all the time. I say, yo, every single one of us are not gonna make it.
Mm.
How we latch on to each other is how we're gonna make it. But
Right.
one of us is gonna be at the forefront. And it can be any of us, but or a couple of us. But
Mhm.
like if we have 10 people, we can have 10 successful people.
For sure.
But in regards to the perception of it, like one of us is gonna lead, like kind of how Kevin Hart's circle is,
Mhm.
LeBron's circle is. Like
Yeah.
everybody's gonna be able to eat, but there's gonna be one head of the table.
Yeah.
So when you're telling like a bunch of people, like my favorite one is like, yo, like you're not broke, you're not poor, but like the money, like don't say that. Like the money's knocking at the door. Something like that. I was watching the clips
Mhm.
out there. I'm like, nigga, this Bill do. Like, so like how does somebody like battle that reality with it? Like, no, like I know what I'm saying has power,
Mhm.
but like the reality of it is like, how powerful is it? Because what if I'm just not destined for that type of lifestyle?
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, how do you convince people like, and this is I guess where spirituality comes in, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, how do you convince people to be satisfied with where they are in life or to understand that? Because that's my biggest problem with myself at a point where I always tell myself like it's always back to God's plan. Like
Mm.
whatever God has in store for me at this point, it is what it is. But not everybody's meant for the same level of greatness. Not everybody's meant for the same level of blessings.
I get that. That's pretty deep. I feel like that's a little complex too, because it's like, how do you really tell someone like, just be satisfied with with like,
Hmm?
I guess, um the average or the you like, because I think, because I guess for me, I do believe, and this is I guess more like the spirituality part, where like if the desire is there for more, is there for a reason, and that could be potentially a part of God's plan, right? I do believe that, but then at the same time, like that's where it's like being realistic, right? Like we're not living in Delulu land, right? We need to be realistic. What are your current circumstances, right? Like if you live in an apartment, paying rent, are you able to pay your rent? Are you taking care of your business? And then after that, or like not after that, secondary, right? Like going after whatever that dream, goal, vision is, right? Because if you're not paying your rent and you don't got nowhere to live and certain things, like you'll have worse problems that will take you away from even getting to that
Yeah.
particular place, right? So I definitely think like if the desire is on your heart to like go after more, right? To go after more money, to start a business, whatever that thing is, go after it, right? Like nobody's like stopping you or trying to take you away or deter you from that. Um, because sometimes things just happen, like miracles, like one in a million things happen where it's like this person never would have thought they would have been in the position that they're in,
Mhm.
and then they just kind of stumble upon a whole bunch of money, or they meet the right person that takes them into
Yeah.
rooms, and they're like, whoa, right?
Yeah.
So I think like I don't I always believe in thinking bigger than
Mm.
what your circumstances are, but also being realistic because yeah, like sometimes people are so like in the vision
Yeah.
that like things around them are falling apart.
Yeah.
And then it's
Literally.
like that kind of sets you in a worse place, I think, mentally and emotionally, and it's affecting other people around you too. Like that's not good for anyone.
Yeah.
So it's the balance once again, like just having balance, having people who will tell you like you bugging, like this is not it for sure.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But some people are like delusional. But but that's the and after this we can move on to the other question. I know you have
Yeah,
some questions,
for sure.
but it's like the thing with the delusion thing is like because everybody's story is so different, and this is what pisses me off. Like
Yeah.
it's like I have mentors, but our
Hmm.
stories, our paths are so different.
Yeah.
It's like however you got it, I'm not guaranteed to get it that. Like you can give me because I'm not you. I'm not. I might not succeed as well. I could do exactly what you do,
Yes.
be around the same people or whatever. It just doesn't have the same effect. So you know, because we all live a different life and we're all so different,
Hmm.
it's hard to you know just be as grateful because like somebody could get lucky,
Hmm.
and it's like I've seen it. Like I'm talking about, I've been grinding for the last 8 years. I know somebody who came out of shout out to my boy because he started my career. He helped me start my career,
Okay.
but my boy came out of prison, blew up in like 60 days from prison.
Mm.
Never dropped a song, never did anything. Like
Wow.
he had the look, the vibe. And I'm like, yo, niggas been working. It's like we've been grinding. I was grinding for like at least 2 years at the time with my mans. And it's like,
But is that luck though? Like I don't. You said luck. I personally I don't believe in luck. So when you say that, I feel like that's very. I think when things happen, it's like there's divinity there behind that. I don't.
oh, I agree.
Yeah.
I wholeheartedly agree because like
So when you
this
say luck, what do you mean?
I think it's just I just use the word.
Okay.
Because I don't like to call him lucky, but
Mm.
like the timing in which things happen
Yeah.
definitely aligned for him.
Yes.
Right? I'll say it because this is my boy. I haven't spoken to him in a
Hmm.
while, but my boy Dusty Locane.
Okay.
Like so, Pop Smoke passed
Hmm.
February.
Yeah.
Dusty blows up in July.
Wow.
Same neighborhood, same aura, same voice.
But they didn't know each other.
They did,
Okay.
but they didn't move with each other.
Okay.
So it was like Pop Smoke went too soon. We're missing him. We need to find him again.
Mm-hmm.
Closest thing to him, same neighborhood.
Mm.
They used to play ball together. They grew up. They had like they went to elementary school together.
Okay.
They were friends,
Gotcha.
but like nobody knew. And
Yeah.
then handsome dark skinned dude pull up on the gram. No homo. Happy Pride Month.
Yeah.
um, pull up on the gram. Sounds like him.
They have the same talking voice.
Yeah.
That was so bizarre. I was like, what? I was
Yeah, Dusty
like-
changed my life. I always say this, no matter what fallout we had. I didn't have a fallout with him personally, but
Mhm.
whatever. But like that's always gonna be. He started like I shot Rolando, and that's how I started my videography career. Because
Nice.
interviews in a week, and me and him we did some business endeavors after that. But yeah, but like that timing was like, yo, nigga, you ain't putting nowhere. But we knew he was the one though, because we used to drag him to the studio.
Okay.
Yeah, we was like, yo, bro, no, like this is what they want. Like
For
we
sure.
know we have to. We were realistic. Like, nah, like, bro, your
Mhm.
aura, your vibe. So that story's kind of different, but it's like, I've been working longer than doing more.
And
So
this-
like,
yeah.
these things cross your mind.
For sure.
But it's like the story doesn't end there. I think that's one thing I want people to take away from this episode. Is like, no matter what you're feeling right now,
Mhm.
as long as you're breathing, the story doesn't end here. Because
Yeah.
my journey from that situation, because that's how I kind of started a lot of my stuff. Like I had to leave that situation,
Mm.
and make a new life for myself
For sure.
and have my own name, have my own vibe, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the story doesn't end there, and we're so comparative sometimes,
Yeah.
and that's what messes us up in the
Absolutely.
long run. Because like I always said, I'm not working to be lit in my 20s. I knew by 18, I'm like, yo, I'm not gonna get lit till 25. Um, so I'm my 20s is for my 30s.
Okay.
So if people could like understand that, like,
Yeah.
yo, if you just lock in and focus, I got to see drastic change in my life within the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And it happens really fast. Then
Yeah.
it gets real stagnant, then it's changed again, changed again. So once you're aware of your patterns, you're able to go at a certain pace. Like, oh no, something's gonna happen, something's gonna work out, especially when you're super intentional with it.
Mm-hmm.
And this, like, my career is like something I don't stop thinking about, which is like why I'm not in a relationship. Like I sacrificed a lot of good relationships for my career, like, and
Mm-hmm.
what I want to do. And I'm happy I've been able to see progress. So
Yeah.
the people that left me, like, they're proud of me.
Mm-hmm.
But God forbid that didn't work out. Like, I would have looked like a crazy bum. Like, but essentially though, that journey is like, no, it doesn't end here. Whatever the problem is now,
Yeah.
if you're solution based, and the solution doesn't have to be $1 million or whatever, it could just be like just a change in mindset and perspective
Yeah.
and understanding, like, progress doesn't come overnight.
Right.
It comes over time. So over time, like, you'll get what you want out of this life. The
Mm-hmm.
only thing is, what I'm battling right now is, by the time I get what I wanted, I work so hard for it, it's not as fulfilling.
You think so?
Nah, for me, it's not. Because it's like, I feel entitled. I work so hard that I feel entitled.
Mm.
It's like, no, like, so even when, like, I got, like, yesterday I was at the Bio Tour, mad love. I do a lot of damage in the Haitian community in the content space.
Mm-hmm.
So I know, like, people here know me. Like, but it's also like, y'all better know me.
Mm.
Like, cause I put in my hours for this.
Got you.
You get what I'm saying? So even when I go outside and, like, my skits or my pod or whatever, or even when I get like celebrities on a pod, it's like, you better come. Like, I put in the time for this. I built this platform. We have almost 100,000 followers.
Okay.
We got a bunch of, so it's like, it's stuff like that like, I'm a bit ungrateful sometimes, and I could admit that. It's like, but it's like, I put in so much work. I lose so much sleep. I shoot and I edit everything. Like, my work, my bandwidth for my work is like this wide, and I do everything.
So what if they don't come? And what if they don't, like, with you saying, like, okay, like, hypothetical scenario, right?
Yeah, we had people not show up.
And what was your
I feel
response?
disrespected because I know if I was a Breakfast Club, you would show up. Like, no matter what the thing, you know what I'm saying? It's like, and I don't ever want to feel like somebody's doing me a favor. Like, and I work too hard for favors.
Yeah.
But even if you do me a favor, I'll be grateful for it. Like, especially at certain points. Like, shout out to Major Hype, because he showed up at in a certain point on our episode where, not that we needed it,
Yeah.
but it definitely did its due diligence. And he came with energy. Like, all the celebrities we had on the show had like great vibes with us.
I saw that episode. It was a
So
good one. It was funny.
yeah. So it's like, as long as you come with that energy, but even a Kitty, like, the first time I booked Kitty, like, her management team messed up the times. Kitty didn't pull up.
Oh.
So we was like, damn, bro, like, that's kind of a slap in the face. And you know how we think of these celebrities sometimes, like, oh, y'all not even. Kitty came, by far my favorite person. Like, and it's like, because she's not what she looks like on social media. Sweetheart. She's such a sweetheart. And she was having conversations with us.
Yeah.
Like, she was like, and I was like, yo, like, I'm gonna forever love you. I saw her the other day. I was like, yo, I got mad love for you, bro. Mad love for you. So things like that. But essentially though, that thing of like, I feel entitled to the love and the money that I get. Like, I don't look at a paycheck and be like, oh, this is too much. Nah, it's like, I worked years for this. I lost a lot of money, a lot of time. Even as far as like the perspective of like how people saw me at a point.
Yeah.
So when people now are like kind of looking at me like the good guy, I've been a bad guy for so long, like, I deserve everything.
Why were you the bad guy?
Just how you should come off. Loud, arrogant, obnoxious, controversial, condescending. My whole marketing scheme. So my whole marketing scheme was always to be what they said I was. So if I was cocky, if you thought I was cocky, I had to be cocky. If you think I'm sassy, I got to be sassier. So, and that's an algorithm trick. So you want to feed what they're talking about instead of like trying to prove them wrong. It's like, oh, this is what's stimulating you. Yeah. Okay. And that's why I tell people all the time, like, if you hate the position I'm in now, I'm exactly who you said I was.
Mm,
I'm exactly what you thought I was. Like you created this idea and gave me this character, and I'm like, I just fed it.
right.
So I'm exactly what you want to see because you're not gonna talk or come watch my stuff you're not if I'm not that. You know
Mm,
what I'm saying? And then over time, like, I grow spiritually and I'm able to communicate it in different ways now. Shout out to maturity. But yeah,
very interesting.
yeah.
No, thank you
That
for
was a lot. Sorry.
yeah, no, thank you for sharing that. No, this space is for you to share. I think I'm just the entitlement part is where that's what is keep coming up for me because it's like I guess I look at things like when it takes you a long time to get the success that you want or that you deserve even. I feel like that builds character. Like I think sometimes when people get things quickly, they didn't have to work for anything. So the entitlement makes sense. Like you become more entitled because it's like you just feel like, yeah, I should be here because I got it fast. Versus when you're going through the journey and you go through so many hardships, changes and stuff, I do feel like that builds character. So I think it's interesting your perspective that you actually kind of feel like it's maybe the opposite or your
Yeah.
experience is opposite for you. Because I mean to me it sounds like maybe more so it could be like there's a chip on your shoulder or there's resentment because of maybe the things that you had to go through to get there. Like are there some hardships that you've experienced, which I'm sure there have been
Yeah.
hardships that you've gone through that you feel like maybe kind of make you a little like bitter?
I wouldn't call it bitterness. I think it's just more of a like again when you're and this has nothing to do with Dusty. Like everybody's going this way
Yeah.
and then your network is your net worth. So if I don't have the right network, then I'm not going to be able to get an opportunity that I actually deserve.
Mm-hmm.
So like when you live in that type of life in that space, especially like in media, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's really about who you know.
Yeah.
All of it's about who you know. That's how you get into these rooms. That's how you get PR, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Even as far as like not having to do payola for a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
So when you start moving like that, like you kind of start seeing like, yo, I'm putting the hours, I'm working hard, you feel entitled in that moment of like, yo, why am I not getting any opportunities? So once you start playing the game, because these industries, they have a system,
Mm-hmm.
right? There's a way to get to these people that have the power, that has the money to, and that's what we want essentially. Like we
Yeah.
want to be in those rooms. So once you get acclimated to the system and you go in there, you're like, oh, this is not about working hard. This is not about being a good person. This is not about it shifts. It's like, oh, like I'm here. Imagine like you're shooting, you're working, you're working, you're working, and like nobody's paying attention to you.
Yeah.
And you just meet the right person and you have one simple conversation and that person could change your life.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? So it's like, so the intention behind the grind started to change over time. And it made me upset for a long time because it's like,
Yeah.
yo, I know there's people out here better than me, right? And that became a thing for me. Like I know that there's people better than me, but there's not too many being seen more than me.
Mm.
And that was my thing.
Mm-hmm.
It was like I wasn't being seen for a long time. Like I'm doing great work. I'm doing what I have to do. Even as for like from a character standpoint, I thought I was always a great person, but I wasn't being seen enough. So it was never credited.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm so big on like false humility is a sin. I don't I'd like to think I'm a humble individual amongst people around me. To the world, I don't care to be. It's like no, because you guys are not watching me if I'm coming off too humble and too nice because you guys want to talk about things and in our community being black, right? It's like people respect anything that has success behind it. That's why people love Mona Scott Young and what's her face now? The Baddies girl. Uh huh?
Which one?
Baddies East, the creator of Baddies East.
Oh, Natalie Nunn?
Natalie Nunn. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's like even if you're creating a product, and no offense to them, even if you're creating a product to destruct the community, your success is what people are looking at.
But what's success?
What you mean?
I think success is subjective.
I think it's subjective if we're having a conversation like this.
Yeah.
I think in the grander scope of things,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you're creating your legacy, creating financial freedom, if you're creating a space for work, don't forget like it's not as black and white as like, oh, you're creating a show. You're also giving jobs out,
Mm-hmm.
right? You're also changing careers and changing lives. You're also introducing people to the world. Like even if it's in a negative way, there's a lot of positive nuances going on in that. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
I'll never be mad at it, especially because when you look at the community, it's like I'm not mad at them because the community's not buying positive stuff.
Mm.
So if I want people to watch my show, I need it to be this because it's a results game.
Okay.
So yeah, but that's what success is to me. It's like aside from fulfilling, those internal desires of like spirituality, but not all of us are spiritual. So success is
Mhm.
always gonna look different.
Yeah.
But if you're able to create legacy, financial freedom, and take care of your peoples and change people's lives along the way,
Hmm.
that's success to me. Like it's like undoubtedly in the grander scope of things, no matter how much damage is done in between, as long as it's not super severe on some like
These things be severe though. So that's why I'm like, what
yes,
you mean?
yes, yes, okay,
Yeah.
controversial topic, and you guys could take this out the edit, right? And I got a tax for this because very tone deaf statement. So
Okay.
just a very triggering tone deaf statement.
Okay. So trigger warning. That's what.
Trigger warning, and you could decide if you want to keep this clip. If I say this is definitely gonna go viral, but it might cancel me. And I'm not defending this man, right?
Hmm.
Diddy. I had a conversation on my social media about Diddy. Diddy's experience with everybody was different. Cassie's experience and a bunch of those other people's experience, again, it's very tone deaf. So I made a statement like, yo, he could be a shitty person, but he might be a great father. Like everybody who's bad to somebody is good to somebody else. Like he could have been a terrible label owner for some artists, and then some other artists love him because he changed their lives. So it's like the perspective is always subjective along depending on what relationship you have, which is why a lot of people were defending him for a long time.
Mm.
Like, so when you put things into that perspective, it's like it's very sensitive. That's what I'm saying. This clip does have to go up since we're having a conversation. And
Mhm.
I know it's a very tone deaf thing because like how are you a great father if you're abusive to women and you have daughters? I get it.
Mhm.
I'm not denying that, but I can tell you I'm a man. Like how I treat my sister and how I treat some of the women I've dealt with, two different things.
Okay.
And I know people like to hold us accountable, like, oh my God, you're like, no, it's that's how things just actually are. Like where there's bias in everything we do with everyone in our lives. Like this is my sister, this is my mother. The standard is just different. I'm a guy. I was an asshole because one, two things. A lot of girls liked it without saying that they liked it, but they would react like they like I can't, I'm not gonna get into the thing
No,
of
I
that.
need you to clear. They liked what?
What
What did they
like
like exactly?
so nice guys finish last, good girl, bad guy. Like there's you see the dynamic, right?
Okay.
Like street dude, cop girl. Like it's a thing. It's a thing in our community. Like we're not gonna let's not act like it's not there. Like Ghost and Angelo, like that was a real thing. That's a real thing. That's a real like the good girls love the street dudes, love the bad dudes, love the protection stuff, whatever. So even when you carry like a certain level of like the things that women associated masculinity with me was like my confidence, my arrogance, how loud I am, how I'm able to step. Like they felt protected by that energy. Like it's a very masculine energy to them. So it's like depending on who you are, like people would look at you differently. So it's like
Mhm.
no matter how like ew, you're mad, rude and mean, it's like it would turn them on though, it would stimulate them. So
Okay.
my experience.
For sure.
But yeah, so with the Diddy thing, that's what I wanted to say. It's like I'm not saying that he's a good person because again, it's tone deaf. But I was just saying like he was good to somebody.
Hmm. So when you spoke on this previously, what was some of the feedback you were getting?
Oh, well, I have a huge female fan base, not trying to brag. So it's like, it was triggering because it's like, if you've been through abuse, especially after you watch the video, because it's crazy. Me and my friends talking about it the other day. When you watch the Diddy video with Cassie, because we're used to the men hit women, women hit men thing, the hit is not as triggering as the drag. It's like, if you see two people fighting,
Hmm.
they're fighting. Or if you see somebody punch somebody, you're not gonna react as harsh to somebody spitting on somebody because that's disrespectful. So like, if you hear everybody talk about the Diddy thing, like yeah, like he hit her, but it was the drag of like certain actions have a certain type of energy attached to it.
Hmm.
Like you're controlling, you're a freak. You get what I'm saying? You could beat her and walk away. No, the drag is like, you're mine. Come here. I'm him. Like there's a tone with that drag that was like, whoa, bro. Like you kicking her, you beating her. Not saying it's cool, But like we've seen that more often than you coming out and dragging her. It's like, yeah. So like women that have been through that type of abuse, they respond in a certain type of way. And I was open to the conversation because again, I'm a man, so I'll always have because I haven't gone through that or have been involved in any of that ever in my life. I think I'm not aware of what because I ended up fixing the post because my choice of words was like super triggering, and I was like, this is gonna do more damage than have an actual conversation because it's like people are hurt.
Mm-hmm.
So I chilled out, but yeah, like I didn't get some of the people spoke because they know like I mean well. Like I have a little sister, I have a mother like I care about. So it's like I'm not here trying to. So if you've been through abuse, like you completely were triggered. Like no, like I've been beat before for no reason.
Mm.
Like I don't care what you tell me, like it's wrong or whatever. Then you have, the other people like because even my biggest issue with like women now is like women don't like women. So like you have the girls that are like she probably did something. Like if I'm a man, I say that like I'm gonna look crazy. But
Mm.
there's women that that like to hold other women accountable for because they're women too, so they know like that's the reason why for a long time people didn't want to believe Cassie because it's like why did you keep on going back, right? Because even when you read the case, like she said it like oh I went back.
Mm-hmm.
I'm accountable for that. Like I definitely kept going back no matter how bad it was and whatever. So there's girls that are like, why the hell you kept going back? He was beating your ass. Because sometimes it's just that simple without all the emotional things attached to it.
Mm.
And
It's not that simple though. I think that's a very like mm, it's kind of ignorant. It's rooted in because I think if you understand like and I think because I'm in the field that I'm in, I understand
mhm,
it differently because someone who experiences domestic violence um on any level, right? It could have maybe even been milder than what we witnessed with Diddy and Cassie can develop this state of being called Stockholm Syndrome, right? Where you keep going back to your abuser. And it's a psychological, mental thing that's happening where you're traumatized, but you somewhat still find safety there, right? That's what you're used to.
yeah, what you're familiar with.
Yeah, that's
I
what
have a
you're
problem with
familiar with.
that though. Because I feel like, you know what my biggest problem with like psychology was?
Tell
Because
me.
that's what I wanted to major in. Was I have a big thing against the mental health regime right now. Because it takes away this lack of accountability because we start adding titles to a lot of things.
Mm,
And it allows people to escape with those,
okay.
right? Because if you look at back home, like in Haiti, due to the fact that we have such a bad structure
Mm-hmm.
and like, it forces people to live in same thing in like in Dubai and stuff like that. There's like certain rules that you're forced to abide by,
Right.
right? Even as far as like not even just for women, but like even like you're not if you still there,
Oh.
yeah, if you still in Dubai, like
Mm-hmm.
whoever you are, you're going to prison for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So like you could
Mm-hmm.
leave $100 bill on the floor in Dubai.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not there when you get back, that person who took it might be so things like that.
Yeah.
Um, so I just don't like how the mental health regime. Yes, I think it does have more positivity to it because like you're saving lives and saving people from their own demise. But the other thing for me was like no, like some people are abuse the power of it of like, no, I have this, I have that, I have this, I have that. And a lot of people self-diagnose themselves, which is another thing.
Which shouldn't be happening.
Yeah, so it's like somebody will call themselves bipolar just because they're having mood swings. Like, and that was always a thing growing up, like
Yeah.
with black women. It was like, oh, I'm bipolar. Like, no, you're entitled and you're annoying and society allows you to do this. Like, the minute a man holds you accountable, it's like, I'm just a girl, right? Like this whole, and I don't have a problem with it. I love ladies, so like you guys can have it, but let's call it what it is. Like, no, like nobody wants to be held accountable. Same thing. There's a lot of men that do it too, and it's like because there's a lot more terms that came out and there's way more understanding about what mental health is. It became such a loose thing where it's like, how about you just? I understand when people hold people accountable to that. Where I get it. I get the Stockholm syndrome thing. I understand
Yeah.
it. But at the same time, it's like I think things would be different if a gun was involved in a lot of situations. Like no matter if you like if because that gun can actually kill you and end your life. If you really like, if you value, let me not say that. I think if people love themselves a bit more,
Mm.
things would be different. You know, like, and it's hard for me to sympathize a lot of times, um, with certain things and people because it's like, well, you keep going back, and it's not gonna end well. Same thing, it not even just in relationships, even in friendships also.
Mm-hmm.
Like people keep hurting you. I've never had that issue. You hurt me. I give everybody 3 chances to hurt me.
But
You got 3.
I think sometimes that's what the difference is, right? Which I think there's a difference between sympathy and empathy,
Mhm.
right? They're very similar, but to sympathize with someone is like, oh, I feel for you. I'm sorry you're going through that. But to empathize with them is to put yourself in their shoes, right? And I think sometimes it's hard for people to put themselves in someone else's position when they haven't been through it themselves. But I think, and that's where, because not everybody has empathy. Not everybody has the same level of empathy
Mhm.
either, right? Like maybe you have more sympathy than empathy, right? Because empathy, you don't just wash your hands and say, you know what, I can't relate. You doing foolishness, so I'm gonna leave you where you at, and you got to figure it out. Empathy is like, okay, if it were me, what would I want someone to do if it were me, right? And that may look different, right? Like than just saying like, this is my, you know, I got a 3 strike rule. Because if it was your sister, right, you
Mhm.
got to think about it like that. Like depending on who it is in your life too, you may have more bandwidth, right? You may do more, you may like, stick with them through this storm longer. But I think and you may have more empathy for a loved one, right? Like a family member more than a friend. It really depends, right? Everybody's different. But I think that's where it is. A lot of people think that they're very empathetic and that they really hold space for people in this way, but really they don't. And it shows in the way that people respond to things like this. And I haven't been through that. I haven't been through that. But when I saw it, I was like, this is crazy. The fact that it was out in that
Yeah.
way, because I have clients who were affected just from seeing it because they've been through that. And of course, because I'm in the field, not to say I'm the most empathetic person ever, but I do think I am. I'm we gonna work through it every week until you feel better about what you just saw, right? Because
Mhm.
now they're re-traumatized. They are brought back to a particular period in their life where they were Cassie. So I think that's where it's hard, where it's like where people, granted, like nobody's a bad guy, right? Like your thoughts and opinions and feelings about this varies because life experiences and circumstances are different. But I think I haven't gone through
No,
that.
Diddy's a bad guy. Just making
Yeah,
that clear. No, he's a bad guy.
for sure.
He's a
But this,
bad boy. He told us that. We just didn't like. Diddy always threw us the signs. We just didn't pay
No,
attention.
the signs were there. He was wilding people out. He was
Yeah,
wilding people out. It was a room full of people and he was wilding people out.
yeah.
Just
Diddy, no,
OD
Diddy,
it.
Diddy showed us.
OD
Even
it.
like my favorite person in the world is 50 Cent. So I'm dying to like land an interview with 50. Um, yeah, like
50.
50.
We gonna manifest it.
Hello.
Do you say things out loud on your podcast like that? Like,
Yeah,
and then see it come
yeah.
to
But my
life?
thing is also like I know the game, so it's like I know how to get 50. That's what the work is for. It's
Yeah.
like when you know the system of like, for example, like the people that run this spot, right? Alex and Wheezy.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know what Alex does. You know what I'm saying? Like I do my research on these people. I know how Alex, Charlemagne, and
Yeah.
Flagrant, and when you're in that, it's about that type of stuff. Like
Mm.
growing into that circle, finding your niche, meeting the right people.
Yeah.
These things are easy to happen. Like they just
Yeah.
had Rashad Bilal here. And that was pretty dope because they were talking about Rashad. This is my favorite clip, and I commented, and I'm always commenting on like Alex's stuff, and I know he sees it. He just never responds. Look, could you show this clip to Alex? Like I like. They were talking about.
What were they talking about?
They were talking about. So Rashad was like, 90% of podcasts aren't successful. Like, why do people do it? Weezy had a great answer. Some people just do it as a hobby. They love it, but like some people, it's also like capitalizing on a business. Like some people just want a viral clip.
Mm.
It became a thing, like, and we capitalized on it. Like came very straightforward. And I commented, I asked him, I said, because I've been watching them for a while, and the thing is, like, I may not watch Horrible Decisions.
Yeah.
I watch the clips, but I study the people though. Like I'm like, that's how I was able to find out who Alex Media was. That's how I was able to find out who
Yeah.
Weezy was, and I'm just like, And the thing is, like, when you're in the business of things, you can't say everything. You give people just enough to have hope, but you don't give them all the answers to get to where you're at. Competition is the worst thing.
Wow.
Competition is the best thing for a business because it just makes more people want to, like, do things.
Mm-hmm.
Like the WWE always says that, like, these other companies that are bringing, like, another wrestling platform
Yeah.
is great for the business of wrestling, but it might affect your business directly.
Yeah.
But it's gonna bring more attention to you also because it's like, okay, podcast spots opening up. So and they one thing I love about the BTF is they're very affordable for the quality that they give. I love it. But yeah, they were talking about that, and then I commented, I'm like, yo, like, well, I know you guys aren't making a majority of your money through streaming. You guys have a Patreon.
Mm-hmm.
You guys tour often.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys also have industry jobs. So the success of, like, again, horrible decisions and what led to everything else happening, it wasn't just simply sitting here and just having a bunch of people watch you guys. That's not how money works. So I asked him, I said, yo, what are the inside stuff that happened? Like, what meetings happened? What investing happened? Because now that I'm in the space, I could tell you, like, a lot of people have investors. A lot of people have investors. Like, some people, like, podcasters not backing out $10 million. You get what I'm saying? Like, that's just not a thing, especially in New York with taxes. So it's like there's things that go on, and there's conversations that happen.
Yeah.
And there's people that attach share. Don't forget, like, Brilliant Idiots was shot here. So, like, this place has a lot of value.
Yeah.
And these things, it take time. So I was asking, like, yo, look, no, what are the specific things that allowed you guys to succeed beyond just the show? You guys are the culture of podcasting.
Yeah.
Then you throw in Black Effect in there, right? Like when Charlamagne got Black Effect. Like, I'm that type of dude. I study the game because I could be on and off camera, and I'm gonna have to know because it's like I know it's just not as easy as, yes, you might get lucky. Somebody might see you, oh, hey, you're a star, let me invest in you. But there's so much, like, to make this happen.
Yeah.
There's so much of, like, other people that we don't know about. Same thing with Facebook. We think Mark Zuckerberg is that guy. Yeah, but he only owns 1% now. There's a bunch of stakeholders.
For sure.
So that's just my mindset on things. But shout outs to them, though, because I definitely, like, look up to them. Like, oh, I want to do what you guys are doing. Like, I definitely want to dominate and take it there.
And it'll happen.
Amen.
Amen.
So,
oh my gosh, you know what? The crazy part is we're at time, and there's so much things that I wanted to ask you just about your spirituality.
So we could just, like, just run through them. I'll answer them.
What you think, Jordan? Can we do it in 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes?
That's all, yeah.
Okay, cool. So, yes. So what I think more recent content, right, which I mentioned earlier that I saw of you that kind of was like, oh my gosh, I want to talk to this guy. Your spiritual journey, right? Like you deciding to get baptized and that being very public, like a publicized thing on your social media. It was amazing. I was looking at it like,
appreciate
this
you.
is great, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know you. I don't know nothing about you. I mean, I watch your podcast for like a while, but that didn't necessarily say to me, like, that didn't make me perceive you in a way, right? Like, oh, he's this type of guy or he's that type of guy. It was more so like, this is content, this is potting, right?
Yeah,
so,
facts.
I think when I saw that you had this, like, just public transformation, it was super inspiring and I think just like encouraging to see. So I wanted to ask you what got you there? What led you to making that decision?
Two things. One thing, it's like, I think I hate the stigma that comes with transformation. It's like, well, I didn't really transform or change, guys. I was always who I was. I think I just made a decision to tell you guys that I accepted Christ, as my personal savior publicly, because it is a public declaration out of my trauma from the Haitian church. Like, that messed me up a lot. It was my little sister. She got baptized, and it kind of like made me look at things like, oh, what did I miss? Because she did it on her own at 16. I was like, what? We stopped going to church a while ago. I know you went back, but like, on your own at 16? At 16, I left at 16, so I left at 15. So I was like, what did I miss? And that's when, like, the concept of humility came in. I had to humble myself. And then I had to, like, again, a community of, like, Christians around me that definitely were supportive and good. They were just good people. Like, and I think they fit the description of what Christians are, like what I grew up to believe Christians to be. Because again, although they judged me, they never shamed me.
Mm.
They may not agree, but they did what they had to do. And I was led by my brother Jonathan to understand the word and to understand the concept of baptism. I didn't have to be perfect to get baptized.
Yeah.
I don't owe anybody any explanations. I think the impact of my baptism, though, because of who I am on social media, like the timing, right? I'm at a point where I have enough buzz to be seen by a lot of people, and it feels like people tell me this is what people tell me. It feels like I'm going all the way up eventually. So to make a decision right now when I have the most eyes that's ever been on me, I'm in
Hmm.
a position of influence and power. It's like, no, like I'm responsible now to, help spread the word. And, I'm not a preachy dude. And again, with how I feel about performative Christianity, it's not my thing.
Yeah.
But I definitely understand like the decision I made. And I'm also a marketing genius. Like I market everything that I do. Like because the more you can relate to me, the more you can empathize and sympathize
For
and
sure.
feel me. It's like the more, whether you like me or not, the more you'll engage with me.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm gonna do a photo shoot. I'm gonna do the video with a voiceover. I'm a poet. I'm great with my words. Yeah, and it was just that. So, but the decision was always meant to be made. But I made I made that decision like recently. But the process to the decision was like 3 4 years in the making.
Mm.
So, and that's the part that people don't see. Like I was not out here promoting my spiritual journey.
No, of course not.
Yeah, I don't that life I don't care to dwell in with the public, especially with self righteous people.
Mm.
People be too self righteous, and I'm in such a vulnerable space of learning the religion.
Yeah.
I don't want people to take advantage of that. I'm good. So and like self righteous Christians right now is like, ugh, like you think you're perfect because you're not having sex, or you're telling me you're not having sex. It's like, ugh, I'm not. I'm not there yet. I'm here to be disruptive. I let them know that. Like I'm here to be disruptive and challenge your views on things and challenge what you think the word is, because I think that's what I'm a vessel for. I think that's why God is using me. It's like, no, like let's try to make it make sense for everybody, because I got baptized because I'm not perfect.
Mm.
And yeah, that's why we're here.
Love it. No,
Yeah,
thank you for sharing that.
thank you.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a controversial topic a lot lately. I've noticed. Like, I don't know if you see B Simone's podcast. Let's try this again. There
I'm
was a
trying to get B Simone too, baby. Listen, B Simone, my love. Listen, I don't care what you had going on over there. I emailed B Simone when she had the thing with Megan.
yeah.
I listen. She just did the tour. She's hot right now, and I know she's feeling herself. I need B Simone.
Hmm.
I need
Yeah.
B Simone. Sorry, I had to throw that in there. I
No,
need
no
that clip.
worries. Yeah, throw that in there. Throw that in there. I love it. But no, for sure. I think what you expressed is solid, and I think that does seem to be a controversial topic now, right? Like even with her, she went through a similar journey. I feel like
Mhm.
where she has gotten closer to Christ, and she talks about her journey and celibacy and almost messing up her celibacy recently, and then that was a whole viral thing. I think she had Lady London on there, and there was a lot of scrutiny in the comments. But I think it's an interesting topic. There's more I think to talk about there, but I know we're like just at the closing point. So I'm gonna ask one last question and then we're
Yeah,
gonna stop. Okay. So it's Father's Day, right? And I'm
facts.
like, I think it would be remiss for me to not acknowledge this holiday. Um, how do you feel about Father's Day? What is the relationship like with your father? I know I've watched your podcast and you've talked about your mom a lot, your Haitian mama, which
Yeah,
we love the
my
Haitian.
mom's more marketable.
Mm. Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, what does Father's Day mean to you? How do you feel about it? And what's the relationship like with your father? Yeah.
Man, I love my pops. So thing is, like with a traditional Haitian father, they're so strict and macho, and it's like I was in my nigga please phase with my Haitian ass father since I was like 15. Like
Mm.
nigga please, like nigga be a dad. And I'm talking about like, and I grew up on like American dads on TV, so like I'm talking about like niggas that talk. My father's terrible with communication, but when it's time to speak, and that's what my father will always be more dominant than my mother. And
Mm.
this is why I want fathers in their kids' lives, because when my father speaks, oh, we all listen.
Mm.
And I've always appreciated that about him, because he never overspoke and he never misspoke. So
Mm.
when my mom talks all day long. Ah, lady, shut up. I love you, but shut the fuck up. When my dad speaks, it's like, nigga, you don't speak. So if you're speaking, there's something wrong.
Mm.
You get what I'm saying? And navigating through life, my relationship with my father also is the reason why, like, my relationship with the Haitian church messed up my relationship with my father because Haitian people love impressing Haitian people. And I just wasn't having it. And when he made the decision to be a father and not a representation of the community anymore, that was so toxic. We got cooler, but by that time, like, I was already so bitter and angry. Um, I had to gain his respect as a man first.
Mm.
And I always loved my father. I always appreciated my father for being a father because he could have left and he didn't. So
Mm.
my father off rip, like, him and my mother are not together, but he stayed to be a father. So
Mm.
I respect him as a man because I would never. But I respect my dad though. So, and it's like, and he's present.
Yeah.
Like, he's present. So it's like, whether he agrees with what I'm doing or not, he's showing up. Always, all my life.
Mm.
My father calls out of work to show up for his kids. So I appreciate my dad. I love my dad. No matter how much we disagree, Papa Low is always gonna show up for his kids. And yeah, we cool. Like, we are just like, I wish we were closer,
Yeah.
you know, cause like, but I also understood, like, my father. I know my father's story. You know, my father graduated high school at 25. My
Mm.
father grew up poor. He grew up without a father. So like, I empathize with him. I get it. His journey was always different.
Yeah.
So it's like, I had to accept when I got rid of my ego with my family. It's like, oh no, like, I know better.
Yeah.
So I have to be a bit more patient with my father, and he's been patient with me, and we understand each other. We just don't agree. We don't agree on shit because
Mm.
he's like super Haitian Christian,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, I'm like, f that, nigga. I'm your son, so you, I'm embarrassing you out here, nigga. So, and he appreciates it because he knows it's all in good fun, and um, I represent his last name very well. I could say my father's proud.
Love
Like,
it.
his friends always bragging to him about me, like, "Oh, your son out here doing it." Like,
I love that.
so yeah, I love my pops, man. So shout out to dad.
Oh, that
But
was sweet. That was
yeah,
sweet.
that's my nigga.
Thank you for sharing. And okay, we are done. Is there any final, like, let the people know, like, what you got going on, where they could find you, where they could follow you, all that good stuff.
At D'Angelo, at Talk That Shh Pod, three H's and shh. Um, so me and my cast are getting back together to do some more episodes. I have my individual show. I'm producing Call Cash, one of the hottest shows out right now.
Love that show.
Yup. Shout out to Cash and her producers. Shout out to Jamal. Shout out to Paparazzi and my whole team. Shout out to Naya Paris, my boy Nick, like, my community of people, Jonathan, Josh. It's so much of them. I got too much. I'm not even gonna say all y'all. Shout out to the whole Talk That Shit Pod family. And yeah, we going up.
Hmm.
So yeah, just look out. You guys are gonna see me. And like, I can't say what I got coming up because, like,
Okay.
not because I'm private or anything. It's like, I just be doing shit.
You be doing.
Yeah, I just be like, oh look, I want to go viral today. Let's do some viral stuff. So
Okay.
yeah, and just pray for me. Appreciate y'all. That's
Yes.
it. Thank you for having me, by the way.
Of course. Thank you
Yeah.
for coming. Thank you for all of your, you know, insightful responses and good questions too. I appreciate you. And yeah, we are out. Your Mental Matters podcast, guys.